The elevator doors slid open too fast. Amara Cole stepped out before she could change her mind, heels clicking sharply against the polished marble floor of the Las Vegas Grand Summit Hotel. Her phone buzzed in her hand, another rejection email, another polite, "We'll circle back." Another door quietly closed. She didn't read it twice. She slipped the phone into her purse like it had burned her palm and kept walking. The finance summit was over for the day, but the building still hummed with money, ambition, and egos that refused to sleep. Men in tailored suits laughed too loudly near the bar. Women with confident smiles leaned against glass walls overlooking the strip, already planning tomorrow's wins. Amara felt invisible among them. She was supposed to be in her room right now, rehearsing her pitch again, correcting imaginary mistakes. That was the plan. That was always the plan. Discipline, control, precision. Instead, she stopped at the bar. She didn't sit at first. She stood there, fingers tight around the strap of her bag, staring at the glowing bottles like they were an accusation. One drink, she told herself. That's it. The bartender barely looked up when she ordered. Whiskey. Neat. The burn hit her throat hard, sharp enough to make her blink. Rough day? Welcome back to Storyverse Vault, my beautiful, amazing story. Vault family. You all have been so supportive, and I promise to always try my best to give you the best stories, as I learn and improve every day. If this is your first time coming across my video, do comment below where you are watching from and hit subscribe to officially join the Story Vault family. Now let's get into today's story. The voice came from her right, calm, amused, but not mocking. She turned. He wasn't flashy. No loud suit. No watch screaming status. Just a dark jacket, open collar, relaxed posture like he didn't need to prove he belonged here. She shrugged. That obvious? He smiled. You walked in like you were bracing for impact. She snorted despite herself. Feels accurate. He raised his glass slightly. Then I'll drink to surviving. They clinked glasses. The sound felt louder than it should have. Amara expected the conversation to fade after that. Small talk, polite smiles, separate exits. That was how these things always went. But it didn't. They talked. Not about deals or stock prices or who knew who. They talked about exhaustion, about ambition feeling heavier the closer you got to it, about how success didn't protect you from loneliness. She didn't tell him her company's name. He didn't tell her his title. When he asked what she did, she said, "I build things people don't believe in yet." He laughed softly. That makes two of us. The hours blurred. At some point, she realized she was smiling without forcing it, laughing without checking herself, saying things she usually kept locked away. "This isn't like me," she admitted, swirling the last of her drink. He leaned closer, voice lower. "Then maybe tonight doesn't have to be like you." Something in her chest shifted. They walked the strip together, neon lights painting their shadows long and distorted. The city roared around them, but it felt strangely private, like the world had narrowed to the space between their steps. Outside her hotel room, she stopped. "This is where we part," she said, even though the words tasted wrong. He nodded, serious now. "No names," he said. "No expectations. No regrets," she added. They stood there, suspended in the moment. Then she opened the door. The night unraveled gently at first. Quiet laughter, hesitant touches, shared breaths in the dark. Then it deepened, turned urgent, like they were both trying to outrun something they couldn't name. For once, Amara didn't think about consequences. For once, she let go. Morning came too quickly. Sunlight spilled across the sheets, harsh and unforgiving. She dressed without waking him, movements careful, deliberate, control snapping back into place like armor. She paused at the door, looked back once. He was already awake, watching her. "No goodbye?" he asked softly. She smiled, sad and real. This was the goodbye. She left without looking back again. 3 weeks later, Amara sat alone in a sterile white room, staring at a doctor who had just changed her life forever. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice too calm. The doctor nodded. "Very sure." "And you said twins?" "Yes." The word echoed in her skull. Twins. The drive home passed in fragments, red lights, blurred buildings, her hands shaking on the steering wheel. She pulled over once, breathing hard, pressing her forehead to the steering wheel like it might ground her. This wasn't part of the plan. She ran the numbers obsessively. Finances, time, support systems she barely had. She searched for him online, piecing together fragments from memory. Nothing. No last name. No trail. She sat on her apartment floor that night, knees pulled to her chest, whispering into the silence. "I can do this." The words sounded brave, terrified, both. The months that followed were brutal. Morning sickness during investor calls, exhaustion that hollowed her out, watching other people's lives move forward while hers felt like it had split in two. But she didn't quit. She gave birth to 2 healthy babies, 1 boy, 1 girl. Tiny fists clenched like they already knew the world wouldn't be easy. She named them Leo and Mira. They became her reason, her anchor, her weakness and her strength wrapped into 2 small bodies that depended entirely on her. 2 years passed. The nights were long. The wins were small, but earned. Her startup survived when it shouldn't have. Slowly, impossibly, it grew. Then the email came, shortlisted for acquisition. She reread it 3 times, heart pounding. This was it. The meeting was scheduled in New York. Final presentations. Final decisions. As she packed her laptop, Amara kissed her children's foreheads, whispering promises she intended to keep. "This changes everything," she told them. She didn't know how right she was. The boardroom was glass and steel and power. Amara stepped inside, spine straight, heart steady. She had fought too hard to let nerves win now. Then the door opened again. The man who walked in didn't belong to the past anymore. He was sharper, colder, commanding the room without saying a word. The CEO. Her breath caught. It was him. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then his eyes narrowed, just slightly. Not recognition. Not yet. Something else. Something unsettled. "Let's begin," he said, voice controlled. Amara sat down, pulse roaring in her ears. The night she buried had just walked back into her life, and it wasn't finished with her. Amara forced her breathing to steady as the presentation began. Slides appeared on the screen, numbers, projections, clean design. This was her territory. This was the part of her life she controlled. "Revenue growth of 42% year over year," she said, her voice even. "Achieved without external debt." She didn't look at him. Not yet. Across the table, Ethan Hale leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled, eyes fixed on her with unsettling focus. He hadn't reacted when she entered. No flicker of recognition, no pause. But now, something in his gaze sharpened. "Impressive," he said, "especially given current market volatility." Amara nodded. "We planned for volatility." Their eyes met. The air shifted. It wasn't memory that passed between them. It was tension, raw and unfamiliar, like standing too close to exposed wiring. She broke eye contact first. Questions followed, sharp ones, aggressive, designed to test her limits. She answered every single one. By the time the meeting adjourned, her throat was dry, her hands steady only because she refused to let them shake. Ethan stood. "Miss Cole, a word." Her stomach dropped. The rest of the board filed out, murmuring approval, curiosity, calculation. The glass doors slid shut, sealing them inside. Silence pressed down. "You handled yourself well," he said. "Thank you. You don't seem nervous." "I'm not." That earned a faint smile, not warm, assessing. You should be. This deal could make or break you. She met his gaze. I didn't come this far to break. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition? No, interest. Where did you say you learned to negotiate like that? I didn't, she replied. I learned by surviving. The words landed harder than she intended. Ethan watched her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. We'll be in touch. She left before he could say anything else. The hotel room felt too quiet that night. Amara sat on the edge of the bed, laptop closed, phone in her hand. A picture of Leo and Mira filled the screen, peanut butter smeared on one face, wide grin on the other. Almost there, she whispered. She didn't sleep. The next morning brought another meeting, smaller, more intimate. Just her, Ethan, and two senior executives. The questions were no longer just about the company. Why no co-founder? One executive asked. I prefer clarity, Amara said. Ethan tilted his head slightly. And your personal risk tolerance? She hesitated, just enough to notice. I don't gamble, she said carefully. Something about the way his jaw tightened made her chest ache. The meeting ended with polite smiles and unresolved tension. As she gathered her things, Ethan spoke again. You're staying in the city? Yes. There's a dinner tonight, he said. Informal, investors, board members. She knew what it was. A test. I'll be there. The restaurant was expensive in a way that didn't try too hard. Amara arrived early, scanning the room automatically. Exit points, spacing, control. She spotted Ethan across the room, already watching her. He approached, glass in hand. Red wine, he said. I remembered. Her heart stuttered. You didn't know that, she said. I guessed. They sat. Conversation flowed easily, dangerously so. Too much like Vegas, too familiar. You never told me why you started your company, he said. She smiled faintly. Neither did you. He chuckled. Fair. A woman approached the table. Ethan, there you are. She was elegant, confident, the kind of woman who belonged here without trying. Amara Cole, Ethan said, introducing them. This is Vivian, board advisor. Vivian's gaze dropped briefly to Amara's hand. No ring. Well, Vivian said smoothly, you're certainly impressive. Ethan doesn't praise easily. Ethan didn't deny it. The dinner stretched late. By the time Amara stood to leave, her head buzzed, not from the wine, but from the weight of unspoken things. Walk you out? Ethan asked. She should have said no. She didn't. Outside, the city hummed. Traffic, sirens, life moving forward. You ever feel like you've met someone before? He said slowly, but can't place where. Her pulse spiked. No, she said. He stopped walking. She turned. They were too close. Again. I do, he continued, and it's been driving me crazy since yesterday. Her mouth went dry. Maybe you just see a lot of faces, she said. Or maybe, he said quietly, some nights leave marks. Her breath caught. She stepped back. Good night, Mr. Hale. She walked away before he could respond. The next afternoon, everything changed. The hotel lobby was chaos, conference attendees checking out, luggage everywhere. Amara rushed toward the elevators, phone pressed to her ear. Yes, I'll call you back, she said softly. Be good for Grandma. She turned and froze. Leo and Mira stood near the concierge desk holding her mother's hands. Her mother looked up, smiled. Surprise! Amara's heart slammed into her ribs. What are you doing here? She whispered urgently. You sounded exhausted, her mother said. I thought you could use backup. Amara didn't see him at first. Then Ethan's voice cut through the noise. Amara? She turned slowly. His eyes were locked on the twins, not casually, not politely, locked. Leo squirmed free, running toward Amara. Mama! She scooped him up automatically, Mira clinging to her leg. Ethan's face drained of color. The resemblance was subtle, not obvious, but undeniable. His voice was rough. "How old are they?" She didn't answer. "Amara," he pressed. "How old are they?" "2," she said. The world narrowed to the space between them. His gaze flicked between the children, their eyes, their expressions. Realization crashed into him like a wave. "No," he said. "That's not—" She shook her head. "Not here." Silence stretched. People moved around them, oblivious. Ethan swallowed hard. "We need to talk." Her voice trembled despite her effort. "Not like this." He straightened slowly, control snapping back into place. But something had cracked beneath it. "This conversation isn't optional," he said. She met his gaze, fear and defiance tangled together. "Neither is the truth." They met that evening in a private conference room. The children were asleep with Amara's mother, safe, unaware. Ethan paced once, then stopped. "Say it." "They're yours," Amara said. "Both of them." His laugh was short, disbelieving. "You expect me to believe that?" "I expect you to listen." 2 years, he said sharply. 2 years and you say nothing? I tried to find you. You didn't try hard enough. Her composure cracked. You disappeared. His jaw clenched. "So you decided for me?" "I decided for them." Silence. "Are you going to accuse me of planning this?" she asked quietly. His eyes flickered. "I don't know what to think." "That's the truth," she said. "I didn't come here for you. I came for the deal." "And the children?" he asked. She stepped closer, voice low but fierce. "They are not leverage." He looked away. "I need proof," he said. "You'll get it," she replied. "But understand this, whether you believe me or not, I've been their parent every single day." His voice softened, despite himself. "You should have told me." She swallowed. "You should have stayed." The words hung between them. Neither knew how to bridge the distance. The private conference room felt smaller than it had the night before. Amara sat at the long table, spine straight, hands folded tightly in front of her. Across from her, Ethan stood near the window, city lights bleeding through the glass like fractures. Neither spoke at first. Neither spoke at first. The silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, charged, demanding something from both of them. "I scheduled a paternity test," Ethan said finally without turning around. "Discreet. Fast." Amara nodded once. "Good." That was all she said. He turned, studying her face like he was trying to find the woman from Vegas buried beneath the composed executive in front of him. "You're calm," he said. "I don't have the luxury of falling apart," she replied. His jaw tightened. "You made a decision that changed my life." "You made one too," she shot back. "You walked away." He exhaled sharply. "I didn't know, and I didn't have a choice." The words cut deeper than either of them expected. The test was done within hours. Ethan pulled strings Amara didn't ask about and didn't want to know. The process was clinical, quiet, efficient. Just another transaction in a life built on control. Amara held Leo's hand as the nurse swabbed his cheek. Mira watched silently, too perceptive for her age. "Why is the man sad?" Mira asked later, tugging at Amara's sleeve. Amara swallowed. "Sometimes adults don't understand their feelings." Ethan heard it. It broke something open in him. The results came the next morning. Ethan stared at the file on his tablet like it might rearrange itself if he waited long enough. Probability of paternity, 99.99%. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the world looked the same. But it wasn't. "They're mine," he said hoarsely. Amara nodded. No triumph, no relief, just truth. "Yes." "How did you do it?" he asked. "How did you carry this alone?" She stood, walked to the window beside him. "One day at a time," she said. "Sometimes 1 hour at a time." He looked at her then, not as a CEO, not as a stranger, but as a man realizing the cost of his absence. "I want to be part of their lives," he said. The words were simple. The impact wasn't. She turned to face him fully. "That's not something you get to demand." "I'm not demanding," he said quickly. "I'm asking." She searched his face for arrogance, entitlement, found fear instead. "You don't get to disrupt their world because yours just shifted," she said quietly. "They come first. Always." His voice softened. "I know." "Do you?" she asked. "Because the board doesn't." As if summoned by her words, the boardroom storm arrived fast. Ethan's assistant called less than an hour later. Emergency meeting, full attendance. Amara felt it before she saw it. The shift in energy, the sharpened glances, the polite smiles gone rigid. Vivian sat across from her, fingers laced, eyes cool. "We've reviewed the acquisition terms," Vivian said. "Given recent developments, the board has concerns." Ethan stiffened. "This has nothing to do with—" "It has everything to do with optics," another executive interrupted. "Single mother CEO," Vivian continued smoothly. "Personal entanglements with leadership. Unnecessary risk." Amara's chest tightened. "So that's it?" she asked. "You punish the company for my life?" "We protect shareholder value," Vivian replied. Ethan slammed his hand on the table. "This is unacceptable." Vivian raised an eyebrow. "Are you recusing yourself, Ethan?" Silence fell. Every eye turned to him. This was the moment. Amara watched him carefully, not with hope, but with guarded expectation. She had learned not to rely on promises. "I won't recuse myself," Ethan said, "and I won't allow this deal to be sabotaged by moral posturing." Vivian's smile was thin. "Then the board will vote." The vote passed by a narrow margin. Acquisition paused. Indefinitely. The room emptied quickly after that. Amara stayed seated, staring at the table. 2 years, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, all of it teetering. Ethan approached her slowly. "I'll fix this." She laughed once, bitter. "You can't fix everything with power." "I can try," he said. She stood. "I didn't come here to be rescued." "I know," he replied. "That's why this hurts." That night, Amara packed. Not dramatically, not in anger, with quiet resolve. Her mother watched from the doorway. "Are you running?" "No," Amara said. "I'm choosing." She booked the earliest flight home. She didn't tell Ethan. He found out when her hotel room was empty. Panic hit him hard and fast. He called her, straight to voicemail. Text messages followed, unanswered. He drove to the airport like a man who had forgotten how to breathe. Too late. The plane had already taken off. Back home, Amara slipped into her old routine with practiced ease. Morning drop-offs, late nights, the comfort of familiarity. But something had shifted. Leo asked questions now. Mira watched faces too closely. Ethan called every day. She didn't answer, not because she hated him, because she didn't trust the ground beneath them yet. 3 weeks passed. Then the legal letter arrived. Not from Ethan, from the corporation. A formal notice questioning her company's compliance status, audits, delays, pressure. She understood immediately. This wasn't about business. It was leverage. Her phone rang seconds later. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. She answered. "Did you know about this?" she asked without greeting. "No," he said instantly. "And I'm stopping it." "You should have already," she replied. He exhaled. "They're forcing my hand." "Then choose," she said. "I am," he said. "I choose you. All of you." Silence. "Words are easy," she said. "Then let me prove it," he said. "How?" "I'll walk away." Her breath caught. "From what?" "From the CEO position," he said. "If that's what it takes to end this." She closed her eyes. This was bigger than either of them. "I never asked you to do that," she whispered. "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm offering." That night, Amara stood over her children's beds, watching them sleep. She thought about power, about pride, about how love, real love, always demanded something painful. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Breaking. CEO Ethan Hale calls emergency board. Vote. Her heart raced. She opened the article. He was calling for a public disclosure, transparency, accountability, risking everything. For the first time, she allowed herself to cry. The next morning, the world watched. Ethan stood before cameras, board members stiff at his sides. "My personal life is not a liability," he said clearly. "It is my responsibility, and I refuse to let power be used to punish integrity." Gasps rippled through the room. Amara watched from her living room, heart pounding. "This board will not threaten a mother or her children to maintain control," Ethan continued. "If that costs me my position, so be it." Vivian's face was unreadable. The broadcast cut. Amara's phone rang immediately. "Ethan," she answered. "I meant it," he said. "No more shadows." Her voice trembled. "You just burned bridges." "I know," he said, "but I built the wrong ones." Silence stretched. Then she said the words she hadn't planned to say. "Come meet your children, properly." His breath hitched. "Are you sure?" "No," she admitted. "But I'm willing to try." The fallout was immediate. By noon, Ethan's name dominated every financial news feed. Analysts dissected his statement. Commentators argued about ethics versus leadership. Stock prices trembled, not enough to crash, but enough to scare the people who hated uncertainty most. The board convened without him. Amara felt the consequences before she fully understood them. Her inbox flooded with messages, some supportive, others cautious, a few quietly withdrawing interest. She closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair, staring at the ceiling. "This is what happens when power gets nervous," she murmured. Her mother watched her from the kitchen doorway. "You didn't cause this." "I know," Amara said. "But I'm standing in the blast radius." Ethan arrived 2 days later. No entourage, no driver, just him standing outside her apartment door with a small overnight bag and uncertainty written across his face. When Amara opened the door, neither of them spoke. The twins peered around her legs, curious. "This is Leo," Amara said finally. "And Mira." Ethan crouched instinctively, like he didn't want to loom. "Hi," he said softly. Leo studied him. "You're tall." Ethan smiled weakly. "I've been told." Mira tilted her head. "Are you staying?" The question landed with innocent precision. Ethan glanced at Amara, unsure. "For a little while," Amara said. That answer satisfied no one, and everyone. The first night was awkward. Ethan slept on the couch. Amara lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar rhythm of another adult breathing in her home. She wasn't afraid. She was alert. In the morning, he burned the toast. "I don't usually cook," he admitted. "That's obvious," she replied dryly. But the corner of her mouth lifted. The twins watched him with quiet fascination. He tried too hard at first, overthinking every word, every movement. Then Leo handed him a toy car. Something shifted. The illusion of calm didn't last. Ethan's phone rang constantly. Calls he ignored, messages he read but didn't answer, until one slipped through. Vivian. He stepped onto the balcony to take it. Amara watched through the glass. "This has gone far enough," Vivian said sharply. "You've embarrassed the board." "I exposed it," Ethan replied. "You're putting sentiment above strategy." "I'm putting people above fear." A pause. "If you don't resign voluntarily," Vivian said, "we'll force it." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And the audits?" "They'll continue." Ethan went still. You promised— I promised nothing, Vivian cut in. This is business. The call ended. Ethan stood there for a long moment, hands gripping the railing. Amara opened the door. They won't stop. No, he said quietly. They won't. The pressure escalated fast. Amara's company accounts were frozen pending review. Vendors called, staff panicked. She held it together until midnight. Then she broke. Ethan found her in the kitchen, sitting on the floor, back against the cabinets, tears sliding silently down her face. I can't lose this, she whispered. I built it from nothing. He knelt in front of her. I know. They're punishing me for existing, she said, for being a mother, for trusting you. The last word hurt the most. Ethan swallowed. You trusted me once before. I failed you. She looked up at him, eyes raw. I don't regret that night. Neither did he. I regret leaving, he said. Silence stretched between them, fragile but honest. I can't protect you the way I am now, he continued. Not from inside that system. Her breath hitched. What are you saying? I'm stepping down, he said. Today. Fear flared. Ethan, I already submitted my resignation, he said gently. Effective immediately. The room felt suddenly too quiet. You didn't tell me, she said. I didn't want to ask permission, he replied. This needed to be clean. Her voice trembled. Do you know what you just gave up? Yes, he said, and I know what I'd lose if I didn't. The news broke within the hour. CEO resigns. Amid board controversy, markets reacted violently. The board scrambled. Vivian released a carefully worded statement about strategic realignment. None of it mattered to Amara. What mattered was the knock at her door that evening. 2 men in suits, legal documents, a formal notice. The acquisition was terminated. Her company would receive no protection, no backing. She closed the door slowly and slid down against it. It's over, she said. Ethan stood helplessly nearby, stripped of the power he once wielded. No, he said. It's not. She laughed, hollow. You're not in charge anymore. I know, he replied. That's why this is real. The next week was hell. Amara scrambled to keep her company alive. Employees left, contracts dissolved. She worked through the night, fueled by stubbornness and fear. Ethan became something else entirely, not a CEO, a father in training. He learned the twins' routines, packed lunches badly but enthusiastically, sat through bedtime stories even when the words tangled in his throat. One night, Mira climbed into his lap and fell asleep. He didn't move for an hour. Later, he whispered to Amara, I missed everything. She answered honestly, You can't get it back. I know, he said, but I won't miss what comes next. Just when it seemed nothing else could be taken, the final blow came. A whistleblower report leaked, emails, memos, proof that the board had deliberately targeted Amara's company as retaliation. The scandal erupted. Regulators stepped in, lawsuits followed. Vivian disappeared from public view. Amara watched the coverage in disbelief. Ethan stared at the screen, stunned. They did this to themselves. Her phone buzzed. An unfamiliar number. She answered cautiously. This is the Regulatory Oversight Committee, the voice said. We'd like to discuss compensation. Her breath caught. Compensation for what? For damages, the voice replied. And reinstatement of your acquisition, under new leadership. She sank into a chair. The storm was turning. That night, Ethan stood on the balcony again, city lights reflecting in his eyes. I didn't plan for this, he said. Neither did I, Amara replied. He turned to her. If you want me to walk away now, I will. She studied him, the man without titles, without armor. I don't need you to walk away, she said. I need you to stay for the right reasons. He nodded. Then I'm here. No promises, no declarations, just truth. The call came the next morning. The acquisition would proceed, public apology included. Her company would survive. Amara closed her eyes, relief crashing through her like a wave. She turned to Ethan, voice quiet. "We made it." He smiled softly. "You did." She corrected him gently. "We did." But even as hope returned, one question remained unspoken. What happens after the crisis ends? The crisis ended the way storms often did, not with celebration, but with exhaustion. Amara stood alone in her office, long after everyone else had gone home. The lights of the city blinked outside the window, indifferent to the fact that her company had just survived the closest brush with extinction she'd ever known. She rested her hands on the desk and let herself breathe. For the first time in months, nothing was actively chasing her. No hostile board. No frozen accounts. No ticking clock threatening to erase everything she'd built. She should have felt victorious. Instead, she felt cautious. Victory had taught her not to trust quiet. Ethan waited outside. Not inside the office, not hovering, just leaning against the hallway wall, jacket draped over his arm, looking like a man who had finally learned where he belonged and where he didn't. She noticed the change in him immediately. No tension in his shoulders, no phone glued to his hand, no urgency vibrating beneath his skin, just presence. "You ready?" he asked. She nodded. "Let's go home." The word home landed between them, fragile and unfinished. That night, after the twins were asleep, Amara and Ethan sat on opposite ends of the couch, the distance deliberate. Neither wanted to rush this part. "I got an offer today," Ethan said eventually. Her chest tightened. "From where?" "A private firm," he replied. "Consulting role, good money, no control over other people's lives." She studied his face. "Do you want it?" He thought carefully before answering. "I don't want what I had before." That mattered. "I won't ask you to shrink your life for us," she said quietly. "I've done too much of that already." He nodded. "And I won't ask you to make space for me just because biology says I belong." Silence followed. This wasn't a movie moment. No sweeping declarations, no guarantees, just two people trying not to lie anymore. "I'm scared," she admitted. "So am I," he said. They shared a small, honest smile. The next weeks unfolded slowly, deliberately. Ethan didn't move in, he didn't insist. He showed up instead. School pickups, doctor visits, awkward parent-teacher meetings where he stood slightly behind Amara, letting her lead. The twins warmed to him in pieces. Leo tested boundaries. Mira asked questions no adult was ever ready for. "Why weren't you here before?" she asked one evening. Ethan swallowed hard. "Because I didn't know I was needed." Mira considered that. "You know now?" "Yes," he said. "I do." She nodded, satisfied. Amara watched from the doorway, heart aching in a way that hurt and healed at the same time. One afternoon, Amara's mother pulled her aside. "He's trying," she said gently. "I know," Amara replied. "Trying isn't the same as staying." "I know that too." Her mother squeezed her hand. "Just don't punish the present for the past." The words followed Amara for days. The public narrative shifted quickly. Articles reframed the scandal. Headlines softened. From CEO to father, a different kind of power. Amara ignored most of it. She had learned the cost of letting strangers define her story. But one interview request caught her attention. Not about the scandal, about leadership. She accepted. On camera, she spoke plainly. "Power doesn't come from control," she said. "It comes from responsibility. And responsibility doesn't disappear when it becomes inconvenient." The clip went viral. Messages poured in. Founders, parents, women who had been quietly told to choose. Amara read every single one. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was being seen. The real turning point came unexpectedly. One evening, Ethan showed up without warning, eyes serious. "Something's wrong," she said immediately. He nodded. "I've been offered a seat on the interim board." Her stomach dropped. "After everything?" "They want optics," he said. "Redemption. Stability." "And what do you want?" He hesitated. "I want to matter," he said, "but not at the cost of becoming who I was." She stood very still. "This isn't about the board," she said. "It's about us." "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm asking." She walked to the window, stared out at the city she had fought so hard to stay standing in. When she turned back, her voice was steady. "If you take it," she said, "you don't get to disappear again." "I won't," he said immediately. "And if you feel it pulling you away, I'll walk," he finished. She searched his face for hesitation, found none. "Then take it," she said, "but this time build something that doesn't destroy people." He exhaled, relief and determination colliding. "I will." Months passed. Life settled into something real, not perfect. Real. The company grew, slowly, sustainably. Ethan took the board seat and surprised everyone by pushing for policies that protected founders instead of controlling them. The twins started calling him by his name. Not Dad, not yet. Amara didn't correct them. Some things had to arrive naturally. One quiet Sunday morning, Amara watched Ethan help Leo with a puzzle while Mira colored beside them. She felt something unfamiliar. Peace. Later, she joined him on the balcony. "You ever think about that night?" she asked. "All the time," he admitted. "But not the way I used to." "How?" "I don't see it as a mistake anymore," he said. "I see it as the beginning of my accountability." She nodded. "I used to think it was a detour." "And now?" She smiled faintly. "Now I think it was a collision." He laughed softly, then grew serious. "I don't know what our future looks like," he said, "but I want to keep choosing it." She met his gaze. "So do I." The final scene didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened at a school event. Leo tripped during a game, scraping his knee. Mira burst into tears before he did. Amara moved instinctively, but Ethan was already there, lifting Leo gently, soothing him. Leo sniffed. "It hurts." "I know," Ethan said softly, "but I've got you." Leo leaned into him. Amara froze. Ethan looked up, uncertain. She gave the smallest nod. Permission. Trust. Ethan hugged Leo closer, emotion breaking through his voice. "I've got you," he repeated. Amara blinked hard. Some nights changed your life. Others taught you how to live it. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, original stories like this. Like the video to support the channel, and tell us in the comments, do you believe love is about fate, or the choices we keep making every day?